You're listening to Meet the Wedding Suppliers, a podcast that invites those planning a wedding to meet the creatives that turn wedding day dreams into wedding day reality. My name is Philip Smith. I'm a wedding videographer based in the UK, and over the past 7 years, I've worked alongside some of the very best suppliers in the wedding business. And in this podcast, I'm sitting down with photographers and florists, planners and caterers, venues and videographers, cake makers and toastmasters to discuss their process, the lessons they've learned, and their tips for those planning a wedding. I often think of the hair and the hairstylists as the unsung heroes of weddings. The stylist is there in the morning, and along with the makeup artist, it's the first supplier that most brides will usually work with on their wedding day. In my experience, stylists get on with their work quietly and quickly. They put in practice the plan that they've worked on with the bride months in advance. They get the job done before handing over to the makeup artist to continue the prep. And they're essentially the first cog in a giant wedding day machine. And of course, they do all this hard work so that myself taking the video and the photographers taking stills can get great images. But do they get the credit they deserve? In this episode of the podcast, we're shining a light on hairstylists, and one of the very best around. Welcome to Meet the Wedding Suppliers podcast. It's Michelle Walker.
Hello.
First of all, before I go into great detail, is it hairstylist, hairdresser, hair specialist? How is one to describe you?
I think I'm all of those.
But it's weird, isn't it? Because I would say, hairdresser, but that sounds...
I am a hairdresser. I trained as a hairdresser, right, and I still do what I call my normal hairdressing, mainly for friends and family now. But then I do specialise in wedding hair, and that is more the hairstylist side of things.
Hairstylist,
yeah.
Okay. We'll call it a hairstylist because it sounds grander, I suppose, isn't it, slightly? I'm certainly not trying to equate the wedding day to a production line, but in a sense, the hair is like the first process of the day, isn't it? Usually there's a lot of responsibility on the hairstylist or the hairdresser to get that right first of all, because you're kind of working, if we look at the process of a bride on a wedding day morning, you're kind of the first thing that happens to the bride, aren't you, essentially?
Usually they're really early in the morning, usually knock on the door, wake everybody up and get going.
But it's weird that kind of atmosphere in the morning, isn't it? Because some brides are quite manic and there's a lot going on. Others are quite chilled. And I suppose it's your job, along with the makeup artist, because you're the first people that are kind of there, is to kind of set that tone a little bit for the bride, maybe calm them down, get them going.
Yeah, everyone comments on how calm the wedding morning actually is, and everyone's always quite surprised by how calm it is. But I think if you've planned everything properly, and I do as much planning ahead as I can, and then it will run smoothly. There's no need for lots of
stress or hassle.
It doesn't need to be all of that. If you've done enough planning beforehand, it should all run smoothly.
Yeah, we'll go into the planning later on, because obviously, as part of the hair, there's a trial and that sort of thing, which we'll talk about. But in that morning, when you're getting ready, the bride and maybe bridesmaids and the bride's mother and people like that, do you feel the pressure?
Probably before I get there, normally. Once I'm in and I'm going, I just get on with it and do what I need to do, because, everybody's got to get ready on time and everybody else is quite nervous, so it wouldn't do for me to be nervous as well.
But I suppose that's part of the job, isn't it? You're trying to be a calm figure there to get things going and moving in the first instance during the prep in the morning, aren't you?
Yeah, it is important that you keep everybody calm. And when you're working with a makeup artist as well, you tend to keep everyone's time, and that's one of the biggest things. I think as long as everything's going to time, that keeps things calm as well. Can
you tell us about the timing? Because the timing is quite important, isn't it?
Very
Everything
important.
Kind of works back. If you look at the wedding day morning and the timings of the morning, obviously you'll go when the bride's got to be ready and leaving, and then the ceremony. But you kind of, for you as the hairstylist, you work back from that, don't you?
Yeah.
And it obviously involves how many bridesmaids you've got to do and people like that.
Yeah, that's right. Usually I like to have the hair finished an hour before the wedding ceremony or before they're leaving. And then that gives them time to get dressed, have photos done, any last minute bits and pieces. And I always stay until they're dressed to put their veil in and do last minute touch-ups as well. But I work backwards from that, from the ceremony time, depending on how many people and what they're having done as to what time I start in the morning.
And sometimes though on the day you might have like 9 bridesmaids and then the mother of the bride wants something done as well. So there's kind of, you've got to fit all those things in as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Is that stressful though when there's more people to work on, or is it
You
just
just
a case
start
of
earlier in the morning.
early?
Yeah, you just got to start nice and early.
So let's go back to the start then. Can we talk about your background and how you got into hair, and then how you got into weddings as well?
Yeah, well, I started hairdressing when I was 16, straight from school. And it was, I started working in salons, and then I did a few years doing mobile hairdressing. And it was only once I had my daughter that I decided to do more wedding hair because it was more weekend based. And it kind of the wedding side went from there. I did more training and I just started specialising more in that area.
What year was that? When did you do your first wedding? Can you remember the first wedding?
Do you know what? I can't because I was freelance mobile hairdresser. A lot of salon stylists don't really travel out for a wedding.
Right.
So I've always done the odd wedding, not as many as I do now, but I'd always do the odd one. And I must have been 20 odd years ago.
Wow.
I did the first one.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not really that old.
So how many do you tend to do a year? Like what's your numbers that you do a year?
About 30 to 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's all over. You're based in Billericay in Essex.
Yeah.
So it's all around Essex?
Generally all
Southeast?
around, generally Essex. So occasionally go into London, occasionally Suffolk. Yeah.
And do you always, I suppose it's always the case of you're going to where the bride's getting ready in the morning. So it might be a venue or a hotel or something like that.
Yeah, I always travel to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when brides are looking to discuss hair for their wedding with you, what's the process from when they contact you? Is it a case of you're talking through ideas and then you meet up for a trial? And tell us about the trial. What's the process involved for brides then?
Yeah, I often don't get to see what their ideas are until I actually meet them for their trial. Sometimes they'll send me across pictures, but until I actually have a look at what their hair is like. And then when I do meet them for the trial, then I go through a really thorough consultation with them, and I find that really important. So obviously I can have a look at what their hair's like, I have a look at the dress, I have a look at whether they've got any accessories already, talk about the veil, and then I find a lot of brides come to me now with Pinterest boards, which I find is great because it's like looking at a mood board.
Yeah.
And often brides will pin pictures, the same picture more than once.
Right.
So then without even realising, and then obviously I know that's something they really like, or they might pin 10 different pictures, but all 10 will just have one part that's the same. So I think, they really like that bit.
I hadn't thought about that before, because you're seeing these images sort of fresh first of all, aren't you? So you and you can see patterns that are emerging in the images that they've chosen.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, when you do a hairstyle, it's almost like putting together a jigsaw. It's all these different parts that you put together and build it up to get to where they want. So then once we've discussed all of that, at the trial, I always work in front of a mirror, and I sort of work out how I'm going to start styling the hair. And by working in front of the mirror, they can always see what I'm doing. And I always say, right, tell me if you don't like any bits at all, just tell me to stop and we'll go in a different direction. Because when you see things in a picture and then you see it on yourself, it can look quite different. So we can sort of tweak bits until they feel happy.
That's kind of one of the things I always think about with the idea of the trial, is that fact that it's probably quite exciting for a bride's point of view, because you are trying out all these ideas. You've put together this lookbook or this Pinterest page or something, and you've discovered the things that you think you quite like. And then it's discussing with you as the professional whether these things work. Yeah. And then trying them out and see if they do work or not.
Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes girls will come to me and they'll sort of say, well, I don't know what I want. I don't know. I haven't got a clue what I want. But then I start with, okay, well, tell me what you don't want. Because people sometimes are a lot more confident in telling you what they don't like than telling you what they do like. So we kind of work backwards and get to what they want that way.
One of the things you said earlier was about how you like to see the dress.
Yes.
I find that interesting. So obviously there's certain styles that go with the dress that the bride's wearing.
Yeah, well, especially in more recent years, we've been seeing a lot of dresses that have a lot of detail on the back. So if girls have got long hair, you don't want to be covering all that detail up because it's quite a big part of the dress. Or they might have sparkly straps that we don't want to cover up the sparkly straps because that will be a big detail of the dress. So it's all about taking the hair away and emphasising that area because it's it's all part of a bigger look. It's all got to look good together.
I hadn't thought about that before because I had assumed that brides might do the hair first and then buy the dress afterwards. But actually, it's a really interesting point that they both marry, pun intended, they both sort of marry together, don't they?
Yeah.
If you've got detail on the back, you kind of want to see it, and then you don't want the hairstyle.
Yeah, it's really important that the brides have their dress before they have their trial, really, because if I don't know what I'm working with, it could all change.
Yeah. So during the trial, then you're working ideas out with the bride, and you're kind of playing with ideas with them.
Yeah.
Is that quite an exciting time for you as well, because you can try things out with them?
Yeah, I mean, there's definite trends, so you tend to do quite a lot of the same sort of styles that are around. But it's lovely. A lot of girls come to you now and they show you what they want, and no one tends to have enough hair for what they actually want. And I'll put in different hair pads, hair extensions and things like that. And when they actually look and they see the back in the mirror, they go, oh, wow, I can't believe that's my hair. And that's quite nice.
Yeah. So tell us about the extensions, because this is something that, like, my wife's got hair extensions. She probably won't like me saying this on the podcast. She came home one day and had longer hair, and I was like, how does this work? But she's had extensions in. It's quite a common thing nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd say 80% of my brides have hair extensions from me. So I tend to use clip-in hair extensions when I'm styling, because I find I can work with bonded extensions, but I find if I'm putting hair up, it's just nice to be able to clip the hair exactly where I want it without worrying about the bonds and having to avoid them. So obviously it's a temporary measure, but I have them all in my kit, and the brides can hire them from me or buy them from me. So if they think they're never going to wear them again, then they just hire them that one time and then they send them back after the wedding.
Oh, really? I didn't realise it was like that.
Yeah. It seems to work really well. I've been doing that for quite a few years, because before I did that, I used to have to say to people, oh, we'll go out and get you extensions. But then I know the ones I'm working with are really good quality. Yeah. And then if they want to buy them, I will order them from where I get them from. So again, I know the colours are going to match, and I know that the quality is really good. But then I also supply hair padding as well, which is what I use if they're having their hair put up, which is almost like a big sort of spongy thing. Right. It's made out of synthetic hair, which you put into the hair. You'd never know it was there. It's very sort of light, and you pin all the hair into it, and it just helps with the shapes and make it look a bit fuller. And
these are tools that you can use to enhance a look then, aren't they?
Oh yeah, definitely. So use them all the time. Yeah.
So a bride will come to you with an idea of something that she wants, and then if you're not able to achieve that, these are tools that are able to put those ideas in place, really, aren't they?
Brides nowadays almost expect that you're going to be adding a bit of hair, and a lot of them, when they email me, they say, oh, I'll be wanting hair extensions. So, but you'd never know they were in there.
No.
They're really good.
And this is why I kind of at the start was talking about the hairstylist as being one of the unsung heroes, because I think it's very easy when you see a bride on the wedding day, guests, friends and family, photographer, and myself as a videographer, we see the bride and we see the dress and we go, okay, yeah, that's great. And we see the makeup and we go, that's great. But the hair is kind of there. And sometimes it might be, particularly brides under a veil, or there might be a headpiece on and you don't notice it as much. But actually the amount of work that you've put in personally before that bride leaves to get married is extensive, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's all part of the look.
Yeah.
It's something it's got to look good from all angles, because the bride's going to be seen from all angles, and it's got to be right to go with the dress and everything else.
So the trial happens, and bride is sitting with you, and they'll spend a couple of hours going through some ideas?
2 to 3 hours if it's a bride on their own. Sometimes you get all bridesmaids, mums, sometimes everyone will want a trial, but 2 to 3 hours for a bride on her own.
Is that more difficult when everybody's there, though? Because is suddenly everybody got an opinion on it? Or would you prefer brides to be on their own when they come to you?
Well, it's how they feel more comfortable, really. I sometimes think it's nice for them if they've got a second opinion,
right? Because
just to boost their confidence. Or sometimes they come on their own and they're confident in what they want, and that's fine. It depends on the person, really.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah. So they do the trial, and you find an idea, a style that suits and that everybody's happy with, and you can deliver that. Do you take pictures, or do you map charts? How do you do that?
I take photos at the trial, and then I write quite extensive notes afterwards. once I've done that, I can put it in my folder and put it away, and then I'll get it out again on the week of the wedding, and then read all through it and remember exactly what it is, because it's little things like lots of people don't like their ears and they want their ears covered up. So that will be in the notes, or they don't like their forehead and they want their forehead covered up. So things like that, I note all that down because it's something that's really important to them, and it will make them feel uncomfortable if I don't do it.
Do you find a lot of people don't like their ears?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I was having my hair cut only last week, and my hairdresser I've had the same hairdresser for 2 or 3 years now, and he said to me, "Your ears are wonky." Is that a common thing?
Yeah.
Good. Put me a bit more at ease then. I was a bit worried I was the only person in the UK who had wonky ears. No. But that's good. So you've done the trial and you've got your notes and everything, and now we're in the lead up to the wedding. So what do you advise brides to do in sort of the week before the wedding? Is there certain things they need to do? Should they be washing and conditioning? I mean, what do you usually say to your brides? Tell us about that.
I always get in touch with the brides the week of the wedding anyway, just to confirm that I'll be turning up for them at the agreed time, and I'll note whether I'm bringing hair extensions. I also provide hair accessories as well. I have a couple of ladies that provide me with them. So at the trial, once we find the hairstyle, we then put some different accessories in as well, so I can sell them to the bride. So that's really nice thing to do as well, because again, until you know how you're having your hair, you don't know what you're going to be wearing in it. Yeah. So
it is, like you said earlier, it's a jigsaw, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everything fits around.
Yeah. So I'll confirm that I'm bringing hair extensions, whatever hair accessories, and then I attach a hair advice sheet onto the email, and I ask the bride to share it with all of the bridal party that's getting their hair done that day. And it will just be saying, wash your hair the night before, put some mousse into the hair to give it a bit of extra hold, and things like make sure all of the bridal party, if they're having their hair styled and not having it blow dried, make sure the hair's dry. Because if I turn up on the wedding morning and they're all having their hair put up, but all their hair's wet, it's going to take me hours to blow dry this hair, which should have been dry before I get there. So things like that, that's another timing issue. And
then you turn up, and then you start. You get your charts out, and you get cracking with the party. What's usually the process? Do you start with the bride first? Or?
No. The bride goes more towards the end. Okay. So I start with bridesmaids or a mum. If the mum's having her hair blow dried, it's a good idea for her to go earlier on, because then when she has her makeup done, the hairdryer's not going to melt the makeup. Yeah. And then the bride is more towards the end.
Okay. Do you notice in the morning sometimes brides they sort of can't wait to sit down in the chair with you? There's maybe a bit of nervous energy, or they just want to get started on this, do they?
Yeah. I think for the bride it must be quite frustrating, because I'll turn up and sometimes it'll be 3 hours before I do anything to them, because I'm working on the rest of the bridal party. But you sort of get there and everyone's a bit nervous, and it all calms down again. Yeah. And then just that last bit before the wedding, that's when the nerves seems to creep in.
Yeah, and I've seen that before, because obviously from a video point of view, I kind of will arrive and do bits when the makeup's been done to the bride. But then, as you and I have worked together a few times, and you're still there working on other people or bridesmaids, or doing touch-up jobs or bits and pieces like that. When I arrive, you sense the nervousness or the energy in the room. And it is that last hour or so before the bride leaves where suddenly everything's kind of in place. Yeah. Got to put the dress on, and then the hair bit
goes to pot.
And then you put it all on, and then you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And that's when everybody kind of takes a deep breath and goes, "Oh, this is it. Yeah. This is it, ready to go."
Yeah. And the amount of times I end up helping the bride get into their dress, because everybody else has gone off to get dressed, and the bride's going, "Who's going to dress me?"
But this is part of the thing, isn't it? Yeah. Your job is not just to be the hairdresser or the hairstylist. You've got so many other jobs to do on the day itself, haven't you? Yeah. You are there as like a motivational speaker, or you're calming people down, or you're helping people get into the dress. It's so many roles that are involved in that.
Yeah, it just gets to the point where you think, well, I'll just help any way I can so that they get down the aisle on time. Yeah.
But I suppose each wedding particularly in the morning, is different, and it's just adapting to that in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah.
We were talking earlier you mentioned about trends and styles that are changing. Now, we're recording this sort of early spring 2019. Yeah. What are the trends that you're seeing maybe last year into this year? Is there a specific trend that you can think about?
There's the undone updo. That's what everybody wants at the moment.
So for those who are uninitiated in that, like myself, can you just explain what that is for us?
It's basically where it looks like your hair's just sort of been held up and you've just thrown it up and pinned it. And so it's very, very soft.
So it's like from and I can only relate as a boy's point of view here from this instance. It's like they just got out of bed look, I suppose.
Well, not quite the got out of bed look. Maybe a bit more refined for their wedding day.
Yeah, okay.
Just very, very soft, nothing too tight. Everything very soft and romantic. So whereas years ago people used to find an updo quite scary because they felt like it was all tight. It doesn't need to be tight. You can have all soft pieces left around the face, and it's very feminine and just very soft.
Is that an influence maybe from like the boho style that sort of started to come in last few years?
Yeah, everything is just very, very soft. Lots of texture at the moment. Still seeing lots of braids. Lots of curls, but then we're seeing more a much more open curl and more. There's some Hollywood waves going on as well. So there's all sorts of different styles, and it's quite nice, quite feminine, quite soft at the moment.
I suppose from your point of view as a creative, that's quite an enjoyable process though, isn't it? Because you can come in and each week you'll have a different bride who's got a different style, different hair, different ideas, different tone. And so you can create different moods with them, I suppose, can't you?
Yeah. It's nice as well. I've been doing this for such a long time that you can generally achieve what people want as well. You can look at the pictures and think, oh yeah, it's been done that way. But saying that, I've booked myself on another training course next month as well. So that I find that really important. It's important that I keep up with the latest trends and latest techniques, and so that I can then put that through to my work, and it motivates me and keeps me excited about my job.
Exactly, and it's that continuous learning, isn't it? Because you don't ever want to be, as a creative in this sort of it's a fast-moving industry, so brides who are listening to this might have an idea of how they want their hair, and in 2 years' time, that sort of style might be completely different, and that trend would have moved on. And if you're not on top of that, you quickly lose the bookings, don't you? Because people can see that
you don't want your work to look stale.
No.
You want it to look as though it's progressing along with what everybody else is doing. And I think now with social media, with things like Instagram and Pinterest, you can see all these ideas all the time, and you just don't want to be left behind. You just want to keep up with all the latest trends and products and. Yeah.
do you find though with Instagram, as we just mentioned, that's quite difficult because sometimes brides might come with you with ideas that they've seen maybe on Instagram or Pinterest that is just not going to suit their style. Is that something where you can actually say to them as the professional, we can try that, but I'm not quite sure that fits you as a person or you as your hair or anything like that? Yeah,
you find girls are quite... they're quite in the know with what they want now because they're looking at all these ideas all the time. But yeah, sometimes when we try things, it might not work for them. So then we'll try something else, and that's when I'll start suggesting things. And, sometimes it might be the back of one's hairstyle, but we'll change the front and do something different there. Yeah. Because I find with my brides, I could do something absolutely fantastic at the back of their hair, but if they don't like one little bit at the front, they're not going to be happy. And the front is the bit they see. Yeah. So everyone else can see all this fantastic bit at the back, but if they don't like that one little bit at the front, so we'll just tweak until we find the right way for them. That's the beauty of the trial, isn't it? Just perfecting and refining it. Yeah, and so making it personal to them. Yeah. Yeah. So that on the day itself, you can deliver that. Yeah. You can sit down, you know exactly what you're going to deliver. The bride knows exactly what she wants and what she's going to get. And it can all be... it's actually much quicker to style the hair on the day. Is it? Because we've gone through all of that in the trial. So we don't need to sit down and do the consultation and everything again. But I do take all their trial pictures with me. And I say, right, here's your pictures. Just check you're happy with everything. And they'll look through them all. And they might just say, I just want that a little bit tighter today. Yeah. And then off we go and we just do it. How long does it take to do each person on a day? I mean, I suppose
it's a silly question because it really is dependent on the style and the person. But is there a kind of like, you take like an hour for each person or something like that?
I generally allow an hour for the bride and 3/4 of an hour for bridesmaids and mums. That's generally the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
But obviously it does depend on what they're having done.
Yeah. And how does it feel for you once the bride leaves wherever you are to go and get married? You've kind of done your job, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm always exhausted at the end of it. While I'm there, I'm absolutely fine and I keep going. But when I leave, I think all the nervous energy that's been going on in the morning and me sort of being really calm, I often go out and get in the car and,
You must have some sort of adrenaline crash almost because you've been on your feet and working for like, 4, 5, 6 hours or something.
Yeah, sometimes it'll be 6:30. I'll start in the morning and they won't leave till 1.
Yeah.
It's a long while.
Yeah.
It's a full stint.
And then they go off and have the day.
Yeah.
And you're not a part of that.
No.
And you've kind of done some of the work to set it all up and have it prepped and ready to go. And the bride goes off and has her day and has a wonderful day.
Yeah.
And then you might see the pictures or
it's always nice if they send you pictures and feedback afterwards.
Yeah.
So, because then you know how the day actually went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From a supplier's point of view, I know with the video, it must be the same with you. When you get the feedback from brides and couples, that's one of the most enjoyable aspects of the job, isn't it?
It's really nice. Yeah, it's really nice to get that positive feedback. Yeah.
Because you know yourself on the day that you've done a good job because everybody's happy and the bride's delighted with it. And then the bride goes off and has her day and gets married. And obviously, as we said, you don't really see any of that. But then it's nice to get a review or a card or a note or something in the post-wedding just saying, thank you for your hard work.
It's just nice to know that you made a difference on their day, because often it will say, thank you for keeping me so calm and thank you for helping me with this. And we all felt wonderful. And I think if you can make a bride feel really great and confident on their wedding day, they need that confidence to get them down the aisle.
And that's part of the job, isn't it? That's part of your job, is to make them feel great about themselves before they get married, isn't it?
You want them to feel the absolute best they can feel so they're ready to get married.
Well, I think that, from my point of view, I think that's such a great part of the day. You're setting somebody up for the wedding. And it's the same with the makeup as well. Makeup and hair is you're prepping the bride ready to go and get married, ready to give them the confidence. Yes,
it's a big confidence thing, I think.
Yeah.
Because if you look great, you tend to feel so much better about yourself.
There is, and I kind of equate it to, I always think about the bridal prep, I equate it to being backstage with the band. So when the band is set up and ready to play and they're backstage in the dressing room and then everybody arrives for the gig and they're waiting nervously for the gig and then the band come out and play. And it's almost like the same. I always like that analogy when I'm thinking about brides, because that moment when the bride is at the top of the aisle, whether it's in a church or wherever and everybody turns around and sees them for the first time. Yeah. They see the dress and the makeup and the hair. And I'm lucky enough to have witnessed some of that creation. And of course, you've done all the hard work in putting the hair together. But I always love that moment when they turn up and everybody sees them for the first time. It's such a magical moment. And to be, from my point of view, be able to see some of that in action is great. But from your point of view, to actually build some of that for the bride is so rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah. When I arrive in the morning, often people they've got their dressing gowns on, no hair, no makeup. And then by the time you leave, they'll look fantastic. Yeah. And you are like their cheerleader. Come on, you can go and do this. You look fantastic.
It's one of those things I always think is incredible with hair and makeup, and everybody who I've met and I've worked with does a really brilliant job, because it isn't just about providing that service. It's providing more value than just doing the hair or just doing the makeup. It's more a case of, you are there to offer support and to give advice.
Yeah, it's a full service.
Isn't it?
It is.
It's a really full service. We should look to wrap up now, but I just want to know if you have tips for brides who are maybe searching around for hairstylists for their wedding. What sort of things should they be looking at or aware of, do you think? Should they be looking around at different people's styles, or should they be more concerned with having trials with people and see if the trial works? What's the most important thing, do you think?
I think it's important that they have a look and see the kind of work that the stylist is doing, because every stylist is slightly unique and they do all have their own style. So if you see somebody that does look really good and that they're regularly working, just have a look and make sure that's the sort of style that you're after.
Yeah.
Just consistent. You're looking for a consistently good stylist, I think. Probably most of my work is recommendation as well.
Right.
So I think that's a really big thing. So often I'll work on a bridal party and then their bridesmaids will get married and then they'll book me. And I think that's really nice. So you'll work with the same people time and time again. And then that takes a lot of the nerves away because you've worked with them. They know exactly how the wedding morning's going to run. So that's really nice.
There must be no better recommendation, though, is there? From somebody that you've worked with somebody before, you've done their hair previously as part of a bridal party.
Yeah, well, some people, as soon as they get their date, they'll get in contact with you. You did my hair as bridesmaid. Are you available? And hopefully you are.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love the idea that you get to see brides that you've worked with before.
Sometimes you work with the same people time and time again. Yeah, it's really nice.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, because you build a relationship with them then as well.
Yeah.
So it's good.
What's the best way for people to get in contact with you? Have you got a website or any social media addresses that you can give out to people?
Yep, I've got my website, michellewalkerhair.co.uk. That's currently being rebuilt at the moment. I've also got an Instagram page, which is Michelle Walker Hair, and also a Facebook page, Michelle Walker Hair again.
Great. Well, Michelle, I thought that was brilliant. Thank you for your time. And that was fantastic. And I would recommend people check out your website because you've got some great stuff on there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to Meet the Wedding Suppliers. For more episodes, free resources, tips, and show notes, head over to our website at meettheweddingsuppliers.co.uk. My name is Philip Smith, and you can view some of my wedding films over at philipsmithvisuals.co.uk. And if you've loved the Meet the Wedding Suppliers podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give an honest review over on iTunes or your podcast provider. Until next time, thanks very much for listening.